Hello and welcome to this webinar today. Our topic is wellness and mental health, and this is part one of two separate webinars. This webinar is brought to you by the Orientation to Ontario program in affiliation with the Refugee Assistance Program. Before I actually start speaking on the topic itself, let me just tell you a little bit about the Orientation to Ontario program, otherwise known as O2O. This program was created and designed to provide information and very necessary support to new refugees as they are settling in Ontario. And it does this by offering workshops across the province, webinars such as this one today, and other online and print resources. It is managed by Costi Immigrant Services, and it is funded by the Government of Ontario. So let's begin. Our topic is wellness and mental health. As I mentioned, this is part one of two. Here you see the two parts. In pink is the part that we are going to talk about today: mental health, sexual and productive health, healthy living, so in other words, healthy living lifestyle, and health resources that you'll be able to access. You can already see what part two includes: sleep, food safety, preventing and treating illness, and vaccines. All right, so let's begin our webinar today, mental health. So when we refer to mental health, and we often also call it mental wellness, you'll hear it referred to in both ways. What are we talking about when we refer to that? Well, what we mean is that you feel good generally about how things are going for yourself. You feel good about your life. You're able to function on a daily basis as an individual, as a family member, as a friend, in the community. And feeling well mentally means that we feel like we have a good balance between the different parts of our lives. So we have social interactions with our family and friends. We feel physically well. We feel healthy. We have economic stability, so we have a source of income that allows us to pay the bills and buy the extra things that we want. We feel that we are productive, that we're contributing to our family, contributing to our communities, and we have spiritual support if that's something that you feel that you need. All of us go through times when the balance starts to tip a little bit in one direction, and we have to find our footing again. We have to find our balance again. We are all different, and our personal balance is unique to us. So we have to do whatever it is necessary to stay healthy, both physically and mentally. In Canada, we feel it's important to address any mental health concerns just as you would address any physical concerns. Here in Canada, statistics show that 1 in 5 people experience a mental health concern at some point in their life. Mental illnesses and disorders reduce our ability to cope with daily life, and it can affect people no matter how old you are, no matter what ethnic background you have, what religion you practice, what occupation, what kind of a job you have, or how much money you bring in, or what kind of education you have. It doesn't matter. A mental health illness can affect everyone and anyone. Moving to a new country is stressful. It can be stressful, and it is stressful. And settling in a new community, it takes time. It takes some patience. And while a person is settling in to a new place, there can be feelings of culture shock. Everything is unfamiliar, or you feel homesick. You're homesick for your home country, and that's completely normal, completely usual. However, in some cases, this can result in a mental health concern if it is extreme. So any individual, whether they were born here or they've come to Canada as immigrants or refugees, perhaps they've experienced war or violence of some kind or another kind of trauma, which could result in a mental illness. Some symptoms that people experience after having suffered a trauma is that they fear authority, they find it difficult to trust other people, And they may experience memory loss. They can't remember certain incidents or certain facts. Or they could also suffer from depression and anxiety. This can also affect children. Children also could experience a mental health concern. Perhaps children who have experienced trauma in their young lives, they will regress, which means that they start to behave younger than what they actually are. Maybe they'll refuse to speak, they don't want to talk to anyone, or they experience extreme separation anxiety. They don't want to leave the parents, even for a moment. It's important to address this mental health concern with children because we want them to continue to grow and develop and learn and develop social skills. So it's important to address any mental health concerns. If you or someone in your family experiences mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, or perhaps some other kind of mental disorder, you should seek professional help. And a good place to start is your family doctor. They can diagnose and treat some mental health problems, but they will probably refer you to a mental health professional. Now, mental health professionals, they can diagnose your ailment, they can treat it, they can help prevent it from occurring again, perhaps with therapy or medication or a combination of the two. They can help you to understand the illness that you have and explain how to change your thoughts and your behaviors in order to prevent it from getting any worse. In therapy, you have an opportunity to speak completely freely. You can say whatever you need to say, and you can be sure that it is all very confidential. Now, I mentioned the three mental illnesses. Let's go through them in a little bit of more detail. It's important to mention that anxiety and depression, when you're perhaps going through the settlement process, that's not going to be a mental illness necessarily. You know, everyone will start to feel low or feel down. Things aren't going the way you want them right away. This is not a mental illness. So it is important to differentiate between the two. However, if you have an ailment that is an ongoing issue, this is where it probably needs to be addressed. So let's look at what they are. Anxiety. Everybody experiences anxiety, one kind of or another, for one reason or another, but they're generally occasional, you know, once in a while, and they're short-lived. They don't last a long time, and they don't cause major problems. But when you experience anxiety for long periods of time in a way that it affects how you work or how you learn or how you behave, maybe it affects you even physically, then you may need to seek some help. Anxiety is when we talk about anxiety, what we are referring to is when you feel very nervous or worried. You're worried all the time about something that might happen or something that might not even happen. But this is an anxiety that you can't shake. Depression. This is much more than just feeling a little bit down or feeling a little bit unhappy. Clinical or major depression is a complex mood disorder, and it's caused by various factors, including your genetic makeup, you know, how you were born, your personality, stress that you may be dealing with, your brain chemistry. And while depression can suddenly go into remission, so it gets better, it is not something that somebody can just get over on their own. So often you will hear someone say, oh, just get over it. Well, sometimes you cannot get over it if you are suffering from depression. It is more than just feeling a little bit in a bad mood or feeling a little bit low. Post-traumatic stress disorder, we often refer to this as PTSD. This is a natural emotional reaction to a horrible experience that you may have gone through. Maybe it was a threat that you had to experience, or it actually happened to you or to someone close to you. These types of experience are called traumatic. And examples of a traumatic event could be if you've experienced a bombing where you lived, a rape, torture, or death, or the disappearance of a family member or a friend, or maybe you were forced to leave your home, or you saw somebody else killed or harmed. Also natural events. Also natural events can cause trauma, like if you've lived through a hurricane or a flood or an earthquake. Experiencing any of these events can cause post-traumatic stress disorder, but that doesn't mean that everyone will get it or experience it in the same way. Everyone faces difficult situations in life, but for some people, the thoughts or memories of these horrible events seriously affects how they function, long after the danger has even passed. PTSD can affect everybody, anybody, including children. Before coming to Canada, some people, particularly those who have come as refugees, they may have lived through some events, such as I've just mentioned. So this is something to be aware of, PTSD. Now, if you do find that you are experiencing one of these disorders, it is important to go see a mental health professional. And in Canada, in Ontario, we have a wide range of people who are available to help you. So let's have a look at what we have in ways of service for you. Psychiatrists. Now, psychiatrists are medical doctors, so they can prescribe medication. Their services are covered by OHIP. To go to a psychiatrist, you cannot just go directly to one. You would have to get a referral from a family doctor. So go to your family doctor and they will refer you to a psychiatrist. All of the other healthcare professionals that you see listed here, psychologists, counselors, therapists, they are not covered by OHIP, right? So it's important to realize that. So a psychologist, why would I go to see a psychologist? What they will do is provide counseling, therapy. You will be able to talk. You will be able to share with them what's going on in your mind, how you're feeling, what you've lived through, what's bothering you. They will then provide you with counseling services. They will help you sort of identify the problem, how to work through the problem, how to adjust behaviors. Counselors and therapists, they all do the sort of same thing as a psychologist. They often have a background in social work. And these are the services you will have to pay for. Now, perhaps they are available through a mental health organization or a hospital or a community health center, but for the most part, you would have to pay for these services. Now, sometimes mental health professionals, they work in a team. So you could have a therapist, a community, an occupational therapist, a community nurse, and a psychologist helping you work through your various problems. Now, many employers have an employee assistance program, and this helps connect their employees with counseling services or other mental health treatments that they may need. It's free and it's confidential because it's your employer who is paying for these services through their insurance. Now, if you want any information about these healthcare professionals, ask a settlement counselor because they will also perhaps know where you can get low-cost counseling services. So in order to find a settlement counselor, if you don't already have one, a good place to go is www.settlement.org and look for settlement services near me. All right, so let's continue. Sexual and reproductive health. In Ontario, we have sexual health clinics where you can receive information and support for any sexual health concerns that you may have. This is where you can get a pregnancy test or you could buy low-cost birth control. This is also where you could get a test for HIV or other sexually transmitted diseases. And these clinics are part of Ontario's community health centers or public health units. To find a sexual health clinic in your community, you can go to sexualhealthontario.ca and you can see the website listed there. You can also get information about family planning. And there are many types of birth control that are available here in Ontario. Condoms are distributed free at sexual health clinics and at public health units. Birth control pills are available, but you have to have a prescription. A sexual health clinic may charge less for the birth control pills, so that's something to keep in mind. Other types of birth control that are available here in Ontario include sponges, intrauterine devices, and injections. Women also have access to the emergency contraceptive pill. We call it the morning after pill, and this is taken after sex. Women who become pregnant and perhaps do not wish to raise the child, they can carry the baby to term and then place the child with another family through adoption. For more information on adoption, you can speak to a counselor at a sexual health clinic or contact your local Children's Aid Society at www.oacas.org. To find a Children's Aid Society, you can go to this website and find one that is in your community. Women may also choose not to have the baby. They may choose to abort or terminate the pregnancy. Abortion in Ontario is legal and it is covered by OHIP. So if this is something that you are interested in pursuing, you should visit a sexual health clinic or you can go to your family doctor. If you are pregnant, you will have a family doctor that helps you through it, but you can also choose to get care from a obstetrician, and that's a specialist, or a midwife. Now, many women in Canada do choose to have a midwife. You should know that both men and women work as midwives in Ontario. Now, the government will pay for a midwife, even if you do not have OHIP yet. However, if you don't have OHIP, you will have to pay for all of the extra costs, such as blood tests and ultrasounds. And if you do have to go to the hospital in the end, you will also have to pay for that. So it's important to be aware of all of those costs. With low-risk pregnancies, you may be able to have your baby at home. That is a possibility. But you do, of course, have to have a midwife with you. And midwives can also attend you if you end up going to the hospital. Now, the demand for midwives in Ontario is greater than the number of midwives that we have available. There are not enough to meet the demand. So if you are interested in having a midwife, it is important that you contact one right away as soon as you find out that you're pregnant, or go to your family doctor and they will certainly let you know how to contact midwives in your community. And there is also a website there that I've given you, www.ontariomidwives.ca. So let's look at our healthy living, healthy lifestyles. That's very important. That's something that we can control. And let's look at what it includes. So food is one of the most important parts of a healthy lifestyle. You will often hear the term processed foods. This is also fast food or junk food and convenience foods. These are very common here. They're common everywhere, I guess. And many experts believe that these types of foods are one of the causes of obesity. So in Canada, 20% of the population are obese or overweight. And obesity can cause major health problems such as diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. So it can be tempting to choose these easy and cheap food options, especially if you're busy working or you're in school, you're taking care of your children. It's easy to grab these sort of fast foods. The best way to avoid the health problems that are caused by a poor diet is to eat whole foods and meals that you can prepare from raw ingredients. Processed prepared foods, they're very high in fat and sodium. Sodium is salt. And they can also include additional chemicals, which is not good for you in the long run. So here we have a comparison of whole foods versus processed foods. It's obvious that the whole foods are your fresh vegetables, your fresh fruits, meat, fish. Processed foods are prepared in a factory. They have additives or preservatives so that they last longer. And they often contain large amounts of fat, sugar, sodium, which is salt, and the chemicals that I mentioned just earlier. For example, fast food or takeout restaurants, they will serve processed foods. Other examples include convenience foods that you could buy, like instant noodles. You can buy those in the convenience store, or microwave meals or frozen dinners. It can be very tempting to rely on these processed foods because they're fast And they seem to be cheaper than whole foods. And if you're on a tight budget, that's important. But relying on these types of foods is usually more expensive than if you just bought the ingredients and made your own meals at home. Buying fresh ingredients perhaps can seem expensive. However, if you plan it out, you can buy whole foods for nutritious meals for less money than processed foods. And for you, it will be better in the long run. One way to ensure a healthy diet here in Canada is to maintain your own cultural food traditions. Some nutrition experts encourage all Canadians to cook their food at home the way their grandmother used to cook. Now, of course, your grandmother probably spent much of her time during the day preparing food, and that's not always easy to do if we're out working or we're out at school. Instead, you can make use of prepared ingredients such as canned beans or canned tomatoes, frozen vegetables, prepared spice mixes and pastes, and then you can make a faster, modern version of the traditional food that you grew up with. Most grocery stores carry ethnic food or international food, and these special sections in the supermarkets, they can include imported food from various parts of the world. Now, often the availability of international food will depend on the community that you're living in. Many communities also have stores or markets that import food from different countries, and these stores may be in an ethnic neighborhood, or perhaps they're just simply in a popular shopping area. So it's good to sort of shop around and explore those options. It takes time to get your child comfortable with various different foods. They, of course, grow up eating the food that you prepare for them, but they are then introduced to foods that are here in Canada. And it takes time to get them to try new meals, to try new foods. So here's a few tips for you. If you're going to introduce a new food to your child, give it in very small amounts, not too much, not too large a plate. Offer them a variety of food at a specific time, and then let your child decide, how much they're going to eat. Don't give it to them if they're not feeling well. That's not a good time to introduce a new food. Be patient, try to remain calm if your child doesn't want to eat it. It may take time for them to get used to it. Now, we don't all like all the different kinds of foods that are available to us, so neither will your child. If your child's school does not have a lunch program, you need to send your child to school with a healthy lunch. So try to put a variety of things into your child's lunch. Keep some bread and crackers, bagels, sandwich fillings, anything that you think your child would like to eat, so that you can make their lunches quickly. And keep your child's food safe. And this is important because the food will be sitting there while they're in the class. And when lunchtime comes around, it's important that the food be healthy and safe for them. So use clean containers. To keep your food hot, use a thermos. To keep it cold, you can use a frozen juice box. And this is a good idea. You put the frozen juice box in the freezer, and then in the morning, take it out, put it in the children's lunch. It keeps the rest of the food cold, and then by the time they are ready to eat their lunch, the juice box has thawed out, and then they can drink that. So those are just some tips for you. Healthy eating on a budget. I mentioned earlier that sometimes processed foods are cheaper, so that's what we go for. But you can also eat healthy, even though you are on a budget of any sort. So here are some tips. Shop at a discount grocery store. You know which supermarkets in your community have lower costs. Check flyers, compare prices, check for in-store specials. If there are some items on sale, buy some extra ones, and then keep them on in storage, or keep them in the freezer. Shop for staples, so flour, sugar, things that you would need, and avoid convenience stores if you can. Not always easy, but avoid them if you can. At a supermarket, you will also see different brand names. So you'll see the supermarket has its own brand, and then you will see other brands. So sometimes those are cheaper, the same quality, but cheaper. So it's good to try different things and explore explore that. Here are just a list of or logos of supermarkets that may be in your community. You will see that some of them, like let's say Loblaws or Metro, Sobeys, they have perhaps higher prices in some for some items, but they have a larger variety of things, or you'll find an international aisle in many of these. But if you go to some place like Freshco or No Frills or Food Basics, perhaps the variety is not the same, the stores are not as fancy, but the prices are lower. So anyway, this just gives you an idea of some of the places that may be available in your community. Food banks. Now, food banks are something that we have here in Canada. And it's a community program that gives out basic food to people who perhaps don't have enough food in the fridge or in the pantry at the end of the week. They usually give out 2 to 3 days worth of food, and this food is donated by businesses and by individuals in the community. We all can contribute to these food banks. They have set hours, and you may need to make an appointment. You will have to provide an identification for yourself and everybody else that lives in your household. You'll also need to provide some information about your income, the expenses that you have. They may ask for a bank statement or a pay slip. You know, when you get your salary every couple of weeks, you get a pay slip. Your rent receipt. They may ask for all of these, ask you what bills you have to pay in order to determine what needs that you have. If your income is very low, you may be able to visit a food bank more than once a month. And some food banks can help with religious or dietary needs, or perhaps you have dietary needs such as allergies or diabetes. So there are many food banks and programs in Ontario. Contact 211 Ontario and they will let you know where your local food bank is. Healthy lifestyle. Now this is for all of us. When you feel ill or you think something's wrong, you should seek help from a healthcare professional. But you can also be in control and you can maintain your own health and wellness. And how can you do this? Well, you can make the right choices to stay healthy, eat nutritious food, get regular exercise, get plenty of sleep, try not to smoke. If you are smoking, try to quit, avoid drugs, drink alcohol in moderation. A healthy lifestyle helps us prevent illness. It helps us recover more quickly when we do get sick. And it manages the effects that are caused by stress. And we all have stress in our lives. So it's important to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Physical activity. Well, this is part of a healthy lifestyle. We often spend too much time sitting at our desk. Many of our jobs require us to sit in an office. We drive our cars everywhere instead of getting out and walking. We should be exercising regularly throughout every week. Doctors actually recommend that adults get at least 2.5 hours of physical activity every week. And when you do have some sort of physical activity, it should make you breathe a little harder. It should make you sweat a little bit. So you decide how you want to be physically fit. I mean, you can save money and just park your car further away, or don't take your car if you can and just walk. Go to work, walk to work, walk to school. Walk to the grocery store, take a walk in the park. I mean, there are lots of different things you can do. Go to a community center, go swimming, go cycling. Anything that sort of helps you keep your body active. Experts agree that children in Canada spend too much time indoors. They use computers, they're watching TV. Children should get at least 60 minutes of physical activity every single day. And schools, of course, try to encourage activity, so they are getting activities at school, but they should also be active when they get home or on the weekends. So make outdoor time part of your family life. Walk as much as possible or go to the park. Take a picnic with you. It's fun for the children. It's a good way of being together and being outside. Sign up your kids for sports teams or swimming lessons or outdoor camps. There are all kinds of programs available. And many of these programs are free or they are of a low cost. So ask your settlement worker for information about programs like this. And I mentioned about finding a settlement worker by going to www.settlement.org and find a settlement worker near you. Community centers, many cities, many towns have community centers, and here you can go for physical activity. There are low-cost fitness centers, there are swimming pools. You don't need to join an expensive gym. Some of these programs are drop-in, some of them you have to register for them in advance. So this is a good place for you to also explore what's available for your children. And in order to find a community center, a good place to go is you can again go to your settlement worker or go to www.211ontario.ca, and they have all of the services that are available in the various communities. So let's look at health resources. Let's look at what resources are available to you if you need it. Here are various helplines. Now, the mental health helpline provides information about mental health services that are available in Ontario. There is a helpful information and referral specialist. They'll answer your phone call or your email or your web chat 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it's always open. The service is free and it's confidential. So you can see the phone number there and the website. The Drug and Alcohol Helpline provides information about drug and alcohol addiction services in Ontario. So if you or a family member is experiencing this kind of a problem, this would be the phone number that you would call. The Ontario Problem Gambling Helpline provides addiction help, gambling support, family support, and information. And the helpline phone number is there. So for more information, visit Connects Ontario at www.connectsontario.ca. Here are some useful resources for children. So the Kids Help Phone it's a Canadian charitable organization that provides free 24-hour counseling to children and youth across Canada. It provides bilingual and anonymous phone counseling, web counseling, and referral service for children and youth. This is anonymous and confidential. So the telephone number is there. Good to Talk, this is a free confidential helpline providing professional counseling, information, and referrals for mental health, addictions, and well-being to post-secondary students. So this is for high school students. And this is open again 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year. Wherever you are in Ontario, you can call AIDS and Sexual Health Info Line, and this provides confidential, and it is a confidential counseling, and it's available in multiple languages. So here is the phone number for that. And for newcomers, a popular website is, of course, www.settlement.org. There you can find all kinds of various services, including health services, that are available to you in your particular community. So thank you very much for attending this webinar, and I hope it was helpful to you.